gosh, it's overheating. There's a record limit in 8K. Oh gosh, micro HDMI. Oh. Guys, I feel like I just did this video last year about the EOS R, and funny enough, everybody bashed it, and now everybody, or not everybody, a lot of people ended up picking one up and loved it. So people have been asking me, Armando, are you hearing about these overheating issues with the R5? Are you picking one up? Well, first let me tell you, yes, I did put in my pre-order. I'm really excited about it. Canon is really pushing the limits. I think that we haven't seen this since the 5D Mark II, but is this really going to be a problem like most people are making it out to seem? First, let's talk about what is this problem. Well, Canon states that you can record with the Canon R5. By the way, this is not the R5, this is the R, but I'm just holding it to pretend it's the R5 until I get mine. But Canon claims that you can record 8K on the R5 for up to 20 minutes. That's if it doesn't overheat. So they're considering this in ideal temperatures. Now you can also record 4K 120 frames per second in 25 minutes. But there's a caveat. If the camera overheats, you have to turn it off and wait approximately 10 minutes before you can start recording again. But there's another issue with that. After you turn the camera on, you would think that it would reset and you can start recording another 20 minutes. The problem is you can only record 3 minutes. The thing is, a lot of people are making this like it is a big deal. And to some degree, I will agree, but I think the bigger problem is that people are not really realizing is the amount of storage that is. To give you an idea, a terabyte of a CFast Express card is gonna give you approximately 51 minutes of record time. And that's not including the amount of money that you would have to spend for the computer that you're gonna need to be able to edit these type of files. I look at the 8K on the R5 like a specialty mode. Let me explain what I mean by that. So for example, in the last video that I uploaded, we did a video on a television, and what I wanted to do was this particular scene, I wanted to film it in 6K using the C500 Mark II. And the reason being is because we did it with a purpose. We wanted to digitally push in without losing any resolution to really showcase how impressive the OLED TV was. Another use case that I see myself even using the R5 is, for example, on an octocopter. I would definitely shoot 8K aerial footage. The thing is, again, these are things that I don't think people realize. An octocopter is gonna give you approximately 15 minutes of flight time. That is well within the 20-minute record limit of the R5, meaning that by the time I hit record and I take the drone up, I get my 8K aerial footage, and then I bring it back, I will still have, or I will still be within that record limit of the R5. Now, I know people are gonna say, Armando, I'm a wedding filmmaker. I record longer than 30 minutes. Let me explain why I think that this is not even a realistic scenario. First of all, think about most wedding filmmakers. And by the way, I've actually shot weddings before, way early in my career. But a wedding filmmaker typically has 2 or 3 different cameras. Imagine 3 cameras recording in 8K. Can you imagine, we talked about storage in the past. Imagine the amount of storage that you're going to use, not to mention the workflow. I would personally hate to edit 3 streams of 8K footage for a wedding. I mean, that would just be insane. Here's the thing, we have the ability right now with the C500 Mark II to record in 6K RAW. And Connor's literally right here and he'll tell you, how many times do we actually film 6K?
Pretty much never.
Exactly. We always record in 4K. We love the benefits of the downsampled sensor. So basically, we get the 6K downsampled to 4K. We love that. But we almost never record in RAW, 6K RAW because of the workflow. It's unnecessary. We only do it in a production environment when we're doing a commercial shoot, if we're doing a short film. But then that brings up the other thing. Well, Armando, I can't use this in a production shoot because, it's just not possible. Well, I'm gonna tell you a real world production shoot and what that typically looks like. Typically on a production set, it runs like a well-oiled machine. People know what they're doing, everything's on a schedule, there's a shot list. I mean, it's not like you're shooting from the hip. And when the director calls action, normally a scene would run out for a couple of seconds, maybe to a few minutes, and then the director calls cut, and then everything resets. Actors go to get their makeup retouched, the background, and there's a process. This happens all the time. I've never been on a production set where they only had 1 camera. When they're spending that kind of money, there's usually 2 or 3 backup cameras. In fact, Red are notorious for failing, and every time I'm on a set where there's Red cameras, there's usually like 5 on standby because somehow somehow, some way, this camera, it's gonna take like 5 minutes to black balance it and 2 hours to turn on. Okay, I might be exaggerating there, but you guys know what I mean. So yes, can you use this in a professional environment? I personally think you can. And by the way, if you are shooting pro stuff anyway, this camera might not even be the one. There's also other limitations like dynamic range, but this could be a great crash cam. Like I can definitely see Hollywood using this as a crash cam to be able to get that 8K resolution, or other environments where it's just not worth blowing up an Arri LF because it's cost too much money. $100,000, $4,000. You know, there's compromises, but I definitely think even in indie filmmaking, this could be a viable camera. Again, to me, specialty shots that should be done in 8K. I think instead of harping on Canon for pushing innovation with these limitations, we should be applauding them for really giving us these insane specs on this full frame mirrorless camera that's the size of this body, literally. I mean, you cannot tell me right now another camera that's full frame with this type of body that can record 8K internal RAW. It just doesn't exist. Even Red, which is known to push the envelope in terms of resolution, they themselves, their latest camera, the Komodo, which is like, you know, gonna be the next big thing, is a 6K camera, not even 8K, that is probably 5 times the size of this, that requires a V-mount battery, requires a bunch of other accessories to make it work, as opposed to something like this that I can just be in a public area and nobody really knows that I'm recording in 8K, and this could be used in a professional set. In fact, even Sony, we gotta applaud Sony, because we wouldn't even be having this conversation today if it wasn't for Sony. How many people laughed at Sony because they went mirrorless? All the DSLR shooters were like,
Sony, what are they doing? What a joke.
I remember when I bought the A7S, it was very limited. It was one of the first, I think it was the first full frame camera that can record in 4K. You had the GH4 at the time, but it was micro four thirds, and it can record internal 4K. But the A7S, what was the limitation? The limitation is that it would overheat. So you had to buy, which I remember because it was very expensive, an Atomos Shogun that cost an additional $2,000 on top of the body in order to get a 4K recording. But then after a while, the innovation, we were able to get 4K recording internally with the A7S II, and obviously technology just keeps getting better and better. And even now, I still think things that Sony has done is still plaguing them, because for example, their full frame has always been at a lower bit rate, which Canon has always got flack for doing the crop, but nobody really talked about, well, I did, talk about how Canon is giving you this 480 megabits per second codec, but now they're giving you, basically no crop, this insane high bit rate, and people are complaining because it's overheating. I mean, Canon, good job, you're pushing the industry. I'm excited to see what Sony, Blackmagic, and everybody is gonna do, because at the end of the day, we as consumers are the ones that are gonna win. Because look at the price point of this. Look at the R6. The R6 is another example of how amazing a camera is. Right now, you can pick that up for $2,500. I mean, I have nothing else to say, but congrats, Canon. Excited about the R5. I'm gonna bring you guys a bunch of content. And also, we will be getting an R6 too. So there'll be a lot of that comparing it to other cameras. But anyway, good job, Canon. Thanks again for watching. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment down below. My name is Armando. See you guys in the next one. Adios.